You are listening to the IFH Podcast Network. For more amazing filmmaking and screenwriting podcasts, just go to ifhpodcastnetwork.com.
When Tommy put a gun to his head, everyone died laughing. And I mean, it was obviously supposed to be the big climactic moment where everyone was supposed to be in tears with sorrow at what this character had chosen to do, but it was the opposite. We were in tears with laughter.
Hey everyone, thanks again for hitting that play button. It's another episode of the Dave Bullis Podcast. Before I get to the interview with Robyn Paris, I just want to mention, in case you didn't see it on social media, I actually just won the Robert Mckee cartoon contest. So what I had to do was, I had to create a comic strip using 10 panels or less, and I had to continue a story that was originally started either by him or by his people. I'm not really sure who authored the first comic panel, the first comic strip, but I had to continue that. And my strip was a parody of sorts, as it was like an homage to the 60s Batman. And if you've seen the 60s Batman with Adam West, you know what I'm talking about. So that what I won was I won a free ticket to a story seminar in New York. So I'll be traveling there in April of next year, and also the panel will be illustrated and it will be sent out to all of his email subscribers in the spring of next year. So I'm pretty pumped about that. So if you're one of the people that reached out and congratulated me in any way, shape, or form, or liked my status, or loved it on Instagram, or retweeted it on Twitter, I want to say thank you very much. I really, really appreciate that. Also, I want to give a shout out to our friends over at Horror Pack. I just received my first Horror Pack ever, and it was apparently the first pack they've ever sent out, and it was awesome. It had Alien, Hatchet 3, Quarantine, and Grace, so it was a very solid assortment of Blu-rays that I received. So if you are interested in signing up for Horror Pack, what it is every month you will get 4 DVDs or Blu-rays, whatever subscription service you sign up for, and it's 4 sort of mystery movies but they all have to do with horror. So if you're interested in signing up, go to their website right now, horrorpack.com, use the code Voorhees, and you're going to get $3 off. And also, if you want, drop them a note or tweet them or what have you, and tell them that you heard about them on this podcast. So without further ado, everyone, let's get on to the podcast. It's episode 81 with a young lady who starred in The Room, one of the best worst movies of all time. It's episode 81 with Robyn Paris.
You're listening to the Dave Bullis Podcast.
Today for another episode of the Dave Bullis Podcast is Robyn Paris. Robyn is an actress best known for starring in The Room as Michelle, and she's currently producing a mockumentary, The Room Actors. Where are they now? Robyn, how are you doing?
I'm great, Dave. How are you?
Oh, I'm very good, thank you. Robyn, I want to get started by asking you a question I ask everybody, and that is, how did you get started in acting?
Yeah, good question. I mean, I've done it since I was a kid. Like, I did it in high school, and then I did it in college just for fun. I mean, I did a lot of plays and all of that. And so after college, my parents were not really into me, wanting to being an actor. They were like, they didn't think that was like a good way to go. They wanted me to be a doctor. So I did management consulting in the healthcare industry for a while. For about 4 years in DC. And then I was just basically kind of miserable. I just was not happy. And I'm like, I really love acting. I have got to get back into it. So I started doing improv locally in DC and loved that. And then I moved to Chicago and did like the whole Chicago improv scene and loved that. And then I thought, well, if I'm going to really make a go for it, I have to come to LA. So I moved to LA, and The Room was like the first audition I went on in LA. And so it kind of went from there. But yeah, so I mean, I just always loved acting and did a lot of theater kind of growing up.
So now, where did you hear about the audition for The Room?
Backstage West. So, that was way before. I mean, obviously the internet was around like 12 years ago, but most of the stuff was just like in a paper. You flip through a paper. So I saw an ad and I just responded to it, sent my headshot in, and they called me from that.
Now, did you go for an audition?
Yes, I went for an open call audition at the Burns and Sawyer parking lot in LA, and it's a supply store for camera equipment. There were probably about 45 or 50 people there. It was like an open call. And I later found out they had already been shooting. They'd already shot half of the movie, and they just had to replace a bunch of people because Juliet had been playing Michelle, and then she a couple of the Lisas quit. So she what do we call it, graduated up, or however you want to say it. She went up to Lisa, and then they had to replace Michelle, which is the character I played. Plus Steven was a character they threw in there, so they were auditioning for that. So it was just a bunch of people, open call audition. And we had to read the chocolate is a symbol of love scene for the audition. And then Tommy also had us act. He was like, your best friend just died. Go. And he wanted you to like cry on the spot. And then he was like, you just won the lottery. Go. Like 5 seconds later. And then he wanted you to be like, oh my God, I just won the lottery. And if you weren't crying when he, said your best friend died, he was like, what's wrong with you? Your best friend just died. Don't you sad? So it was really crazy, and everyone was looking around like, oh my God, what is this? But I left, and about a week later, I got a call asking for me to come to a callback. So I went to a callback. They had narrowed it down to like 2 people. And then another week passed, and I got the call. Basically was saying, how fast can you come to the set? And luckily I had showered and it was like dressed, as a struggling actor, that's a big feat. So I was like, yeah, I can come to the set in 45 minutes. I showed up. They like shoved me a couple pages of the script, just like sent me straight to the set. And I just shot the chocolate is a symbol of love scene right then with literally like an hour after I got the phone call, I was shooting that scene. So no prep. No, they didn't even change my clothes. I wore the same clothes I wore to the set, and we shot that scene. So by the time that scene was over, I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? Like, what am I doing here? How did this happen? But that's how I got the part.
So when they gave you those pages of the script, were they actually like typed up, or were they like a handwritten piece of the script?
Yeah, they were typed up. He did have a script. Tommy would not let anybody see the script in its entirety because he thought we would steal it, which is, of course, what everybody was dying to do. So he wouldn't show it to us. It was really top secret, and we'd only get like 3 pages at a time. So we never knew we never knew where things fit in the chronology of the whole story. Like, I never knew what came first, what came second. Like, in terms of an actor, like if you're going to try to do some kind of character arc, there was no point in doing that here because you never knew where your scene fell in the context of the story. But, so it was typed up. It was written.
Because, there's so many stories that came out of The Room. I've also read The Disaster Artist by Greg Sestero. And, I've often wondered about if there really – how much of a script there could have been. So that's why I wanted to ask that question about being typed up, because obviously through any movie, scripts do go through changes. Sometimes you get different colored pages, and then that becomes this is today's script, and you could go through the script and you'll see obviously the first changes are blue or the second changes are yellow pages. That's why I was wondering, if the script was evolving, so to speak, even more so with The Room, where it was just basically this sort of collection of scenes. And so that's why when you just mentioned that the script was typed up, I'm a little shocked. Yeah,
I know it's hard to believe that would be a written script. But But there was a script, and apparently, I mean, it was way longer. It was way long. We had to edit a lot of it down on the set in terms of just what was sayable. I mean, every character seemed to launch into a monologue, like on every other page, the original version. And so as we were filming, there was our script supervisor, his name is Sandy Sinclair, and he was doing a lot of like, let's chop some of this down. And the lines, as you can probably tell, were still written by Tommy. So what we said was written by Tommy, but occasionally there were lines edited out both before and after our actual line, because it would have been twice as long if we had shot everything that was written.
Now, again, in The Disaster Artist, I read that Tommy shot on 2 cameras. He had an HD camera that shot digital, and he had an actual camera that was using 35 millimeter film. Now, when you were filming your scenes, did they really have 2 cameras, each shooting different formats?
Yes, they did. They were strapped together, so they were filming the same exact shot essentially at the same time. Yeah, it was crazy. I mean, it's who does that, but yeah.
So I wanted to ask, obviously, Greg Sestera's book ends, The Disaster Artist ends at the premiere of the movie. I wanted to ask you, Robyn, after, were you at the premiere?
Yes.
So now, what were your thoughts? Well, actually, before I get to that question, I want to ask, what were some of the reactions of the audience during the premiere of the movie?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think initially the first 5 minutes, I'd say a decent chunk of people, maybe like 20% of the audience, left in the first 5 minutes because it was pretty obvious. The second it came on, it was like, oh, yeah, this is not going to be very good. And I think there were a lot of journalists there to review it, and they left. And then, but the people who stayed, I would say 80% of the people, it got obviously really funny. And I was sitting right behind Tommy, and I remember it was so funny. And it was like trying not to laugh in church because he was right in front of me, and I knew he intended it to be a drama, and I did not want to like hurt his feelings. But at the same time, it was just so funny. So the audience was definitely laughing a lot and just hysterically laughing. I mean, I think it started out as just sort of chuckles, like ho ho ho, and then as it just grew and grew and grew until people were just like laughing really loud throughout the whole thing. And like at the end, when Tommy's character, I don't know, spoiler alert, turn this off if you want to hear what happens at the end. But when Tommy put a gun to his head, everyone died laughing. And I mean, it was obviously supposed to be the big climactic moment where everyone was supposed to be in tears with sorrow at what this character had chosen to do, but it was the opposite. We were in tears of laughter. And I think anybody who saw it that day was like, wow, this is really special. I mean, if you powered through it and you stayed and watched, my husband and I were quoting lines to each other the next day. We were literally crying. I'm not kidding. I mean, tears streaming down my face the next day, remembering it. And that's how funny it is. And I think that's it's rare to see a movie that's that funny. So.
So after the premiere of the movie, did you and the actors sort of like talk to one another, or did you sort of like everyone sort of slink out together?
Everyone basically slinked out together. I mean, I think everyone thought, okay, this sucks, and it'll never see the light of day. And, that's just one of those things you do. You get the experience, maybe something for your demo reel, who knows? But like, okay, we'll move on. We'll go on to the next project. And I think we reconnected when Facebook became popular in 2008 or whatever. And then Entertainment Weekly did a couple articles on the room, and they interviewed all of us. And we started talking around then. So we shot this in 2002. It came out in 2003. So there was that 5-year period where we didn't really have any contact with each other, the actors.
So when you first, I mean, because, when The Room was released in 2003, it obviously it wasn't, it didn't really connect with anybody in the way that it did recently. Did you, when it finally got, this cult status as the Citizen Kane of bad movies, when you first got a phone call about the movie, about being interviewed, did you think it was like a prank or something, or were you just astounded that they wanted to talk to you about The Room?
Yeah, I was shocked that it had this underground following that I didn't know about, and it had been celebrities had discovered it, and they were some of the early, like David Wayne and Judd Apatow's group of actors. A lot of them had discovered it early in Hollywood somehow, and they had spread it around amongst themselves, and they helped really grow it. I got a friend of mine who I went to college with writes for Entertainment Weekly. He did. He doesn't write for them anymore. His name's Dave Karger. And he went to a screening in New York City that he happened to be friends with, this major name dropping right now, but he happened to be friends with with Paul Rudd's wife. And Paul Rudd had organized a screening for his wife in New York of The Room. And this was like 2007 or something. And my friend Dave had gone to it. And so he saw me on screen. He's like, oh my God, I went to college with her. And he called me up and told me that he'd seen it. And then and he was writing for EW, Entertainment Weekly at that point, and he said, my friend Clark Collis is going to call you. He wants to do a story on this. And so he kind of warned me and told me. But when he told me that Paul Rudd was a fan and like he had organized a screening back in 2007, I was totally shocked. I was like, how do they even know about it? How did it get to this point? I didn't, so. And then the Entertainment Weekly article in 2008 talked about the celebrity fans. So I don't know how they found out about it early, but they did, and they talked about it with each other and helped it grow.
Yeah, I remember reading about how the room first was founded by some of the celebrities and then sort of was passed along from person to person. And it was just, it was amazing how this movie, and I think it was like its last night playing at a random theater, somebody managed to, get in one of the last showings, and then they said, wait a minute, this is brilliant. We got to tell everyone about this. And then suddenly it snowballed to where we are today, with it's just developed this cult status, and at some of the at the showings, they interact with the movie. They throw spoons whenever they see a framed photo of a spoon. They interact with Tommy when he waves. It's unbelievable how this movie has just blossomed.
Yeah, it's the fans are. If you go to the screening, it's just a full on experience with the fans. I mean, it's a big a sense of camaraderie in the theater because there's just standard jokes. Like here in LA, there's a lot of standard jokes that everyone kind of knows about. But then it's also like, how can I push the envelope as a fan and come up with a new joke? So there are a lot of people like yelling things out, trying to kind of pitch a joke and see if it'll hit with the other fans and see if they can get people on board. And there's people up front throwing footballs back and forth and tons of yelling at the screen and it's just like this huge group experience that it builds. It's just a sense of community. If you're in the theater, you feel like you're part of some experience, and you meet a lot of people, you talk to everyone. It's just a really fun crowd.
Yeah, it definitely is. You can't see it because we're just doing audio, but I actually have a signed photo of Tommy looking right above me, looking right at me, and it's right next to my signed photo of John Carpenter. So it's
same level.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's I managed to because I got that, and then I remember somebody told me that Tommy had a clothing line.
Yeah.
And he actually sells his Tommy Wiseau underwear, which I saw again in his follow-up, which was what is that called? I forget that TV show he does.
Oh, The Neighbors?
Yeah, The Neighbors. There you go. And I saw, that's always hawked on there, and I went to the website, and I actually ordered my friend some Tommy Wiseau underwear for Christmas because he's a huge Room fan, and it always comes with like signed Tommy cards. I just thought that was hilarious.
Yeah, it's crazy. You can wear your Tommy underwear and make sure the band is coming out of your jeans so everyone knows, because it's like his name is written on the band. You want to advertise it, so show you're cool. Yeah, but he had a clothing line in San Francisco for a long time. I think he did denim and jeans and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, and because I remember Greg writing about that, and as we talk about the movie and all the actors and everything else, that's where I heard about your mockumentary on Kickstarter. And, I've always wondered, about some of the actors of The Room, and I always wondered if they were still going. Because, I'm sure you agree, Robyn. I don't think that's a fair assessment on anyone's acting or anything, because I think, The Room is really, you can talk about the auteur theory of filmmaking or anything else, but I think The Room is really Tommy's vision, because he just had, not only was he the producer and the director and the writer, but everything was just, the stories about the crew after crew after crew leaving, people just, saying, Tommy, this makes no sense, and him saying, just say it. So when I first heard about your mockumentary, The Room actors, where are they now? I was actually genuinely interested, and I donated on the Kickstarter, and I'm happy that you were able to come on the podcast, because first I did have questions, and then about the Room, but I also wanted to this mockumentary looks very interesting, so I first wanted to ask Robyn, where did you get the idea to create this mockumentary?
Well, after I was in The Room, I went to film school at UCLA and got my MFA in screenwriting, and I've been screenwriting since then. I'll occasionally appear in something as an actor too, but so mainly I write comedy and I write features and TV, and just been working on that for a while. And I thought, well, this is what I write. I'm also known for being in The Room. Like, why not just marry the two and do something really fun with the actors from The Room? So that's what I had. I had the idea to do it, and it first was going to be just a one-off short film. So I wrote that, and I pitched the idea to The Room actors and told them about it, and they were on board. And I sent them the script, and then they were on board. And it kind of just went from there. So I guess the idea itself just came from that's what I do. Is I'm a writer mainly, and I'm in The Room. So you Google me, and that's what comes up, is that I'm in The Room. So it's like, okay, let's see what else I can do. I can't get out of this. I can't get out of the fact that I'm in this movie. It's like, it's there. It's going to be with me forever. Why don't I have fun with it? Why don't we bring everyone back together? Show we can laugh at this. Show that we can make fun of it, and that it brings joy to us too as the actors. I think we love going to the screenings, most of us, and we think it's so fun, and we love meeting the fans. And so we thought, let's do this because it's fun, and it's fun for the fans, and it's fun for us. And so that's kind of how it came to be.
So when you started to contact all the other actors, were some of them a little harder to track down than the others?
Yeah, there were a few. Greg Ellery, he plays Steven. He's the guy at the end who kind of replaces Kyle midway through. But he initially was kind of just doing his own thing and wasn't on board. And I reached out to him, but I just didn't hear anything back. But then we did the Kickstarter campaign, and it seemed to go well. And so then he basically jumped on board. But everyone else was on board pretty early. Juliet was the first one to jump on board, and then Carolyn and Kyle, who they all live in LA. So I saw them at the filming for the mini documentary that went along with Greg Sestero's Disaster Artist book release. We shot a little mini documentary, all got together, and that's when I told them about my idea. And yeah, so then I reached out to Philip, who lives in Arizona, and he jumped on board. Greg Sestero wasn't able to be involved. He signed a non-compete agreement with the Disaster Artist when he optioned it, and he's not supposed to do any other room-related projects. So for now, he's not involved. We ended up, I said I originally kind of came up with it as a one-off, but then after the Kickstarter did so well, I just had all these other ideas for how I wanted to take the story and continue it. So I decided to turn it into a web series. So what we just shot was the pilot, and it's a 22-minute pilot. But I also have 7 other episodes written that I want to shoot. I need the money to do that. So we're going to, obviously cut together the pilot and release that, and then hope that we can figure out a way to either sell it or do another crowdfunding campaign to get the money to shoot the other episodes.
With your initial campaign, you had an $18,000 goal, and you managed to raise $31,556. Did you expect, to? I mean, you almost doubled your goal. I mean, did you expect to have that type of success with the mockumentary?
I didn't know. I had no idea. I was nervous the whole time, worried that we wouldn't make the goal. So I tried to set a goal that was reasonable, that I thought would be doable, because Kickstarter, you don't keep any of the money if you don't hit your goal. And so I never presupposed that I would hit the goal. I just tried to work really hard and try to keep the updates coming and make it an enticing campaign and make it something the fans would be excited about and get engaged in, and try to really reach out to the fans and share what we'd like to do. Because to me, this is something, it's not like about us, it's about the fans, and it's about us like coming together, the fans and the room actors, and having more fun with what's already there. So we have a lot of like inside jokes and room related jokes in the project. So yeah, I mean, I was surprised and still am at how great everyone is and how great the fans are. And I don't know if you've probably, have you done a crowdfunding campaign yourself? I know you've mentioned it. It's just, I had never done one, and I was scared to death. But it was, I'm so glad it worked out.
Yeah, I started crowdfunding. I mean, the first one I ever did was in 2009. I then did another one in 2010. And when I first did it in 2009, nobody knew what crowdfunding was. And Kickstarter wasn't around. It was just Indiegogo. And I would always, I would say, hey, I have a Kickstarter, or I have an Indiegogo going. Could you, check this out? People would say, I don't understand what this is. And some people thought I was selling equity shares. Some people thought that this was like almost like I needed money for something, and meaning like they thought I needed money for like a financial disaster in my personal life. And I said, no. I said, because as soon as I started talking about donating and this and that, people were like, I'm not following you, Dave. And that initial email I sent out, at that point, my email list was about 2,500 people. In 2010, my email list was about 5,000. And that's when I sent out that email blast. And I did a lot better in 2010 than I did in 2009, because it started to become into the lexicon, of crowdfunding. Now I see campaigns that have no business raising anywhere close to what they do. There was a guy I knew, and he threw together a campaign, and he raised like $3,000. And I mean, literally, he threw this campaign together in like a weekend, and I was just blown away. So the next crowdfunding campaign I'm going to do, I hope to do it either by, well, it looks like I'm not going to be able to do it by the end of the year, but maybe but next year I hope to do a crowdfunding campaign, and it'll be on Kickstarter, probably most likely. But yeah, I completely understand what you mean, Robyn, about how nervous you are. Because honestly, I don't think you're ever 100% ready, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. It's a full-time job. I mean, every day you're answering questions and checking, giving updates. And yeah, I put a lot of work into it, and I hired some graphic artists, and I don't know if you saw my campaign, but it's a tad over the top. Like, because I've tried to model it after Zach Braff's campaign and the Reading Rainbow campaign, and they made millions of dollars. And mine is like almost has the same number of graphics as like Reading Rainbow. But, so I kind of went over the top, because I'm like, I just want to do this right, but I'm glad it worked out. So I'm really, really glad it worked out. And you learn a ton. Like you said, you learn a ton that you can apply to your next campaign in the process.
Yeah, and you also meet a lot of new people. My last campaign in 2010, I actually met so many people that I never – some good, actually most good. Most of them, like 95% were good people. There was like 5% who were trying to get me to do things for them, which I was just a little stunned at. I was like, guys, if I'm crowdfunding for this movie, at that point it was a TV pilot. I said, why would I go back and help you without this? I'm obviously tied up with this. So there was like 2 or 3 people that emailed me, and I just sort of quickly put them on like a, this is like my own personal blacklist, like just in case this person, did that happen to you? Any chance? Did you have any people come out of the woodwork or any negative experiences with crowdfunding?
Nothing too negative other than it's like people marketing their various services that they provide, and you pay me this money and I'll email out all your Facebook friends and all this stuff. And I mean, I just did the research and I just didn't think it was worth it. I think what I was doing on my own was going to be better, and then I wouldn't have to pay somebody to do that. So I had a couple marketers and people kind of come forward and want me to, pay something, give them something, use their service, something like that. And I didn't take any of those people up on it. But most people were really helpful. I met you, meeting you, and met some great people.
Well, you met me. That was already a negative experience.
No, it was awesome. And, we just shot this mockumentary over the past, a week or 2 weeks ago. We wrapped, and we had all our, we call them VIP backers, people who donated a certain amount, who were extras or had lines in the movie. They flew out, to be in it. And, people came from DC and New Jersey and Boston, Northern California, and came out and were in our project as extras, and a few people had lines, and it was awesome to meet them. I mean, they were the coolest, nicest, most incredible fans and people in general. And I'm friends now with all of them on Facebook, and I'm really excited to keep in touch with them. And just to see their face and meet the people who had basically helped make this happen for us was incredible. And I loved every second of having them involved.
Yeah, and one other thing about by the way, it was a good idea that you didn't take up anybody on that offer, to that whole, hey, if you pay me $50, $100, I'll email blast this out, or I'll tweet this out to my followers. Somebody did a study on those types of services, and it usually is they will tweet it out, but it's like they have 100,000 followers, but like 99,980 are bots. They aren't real. They've bought those followers, and those followers, that's how they've gotten those followers. And if they do tweet out anything, no one is going to interact with it because it's bots. And obviously, also a friend of mine, Lucas McNeely, wrote an article called "The Rise of the Crowdfunding Consultants," and some people, have reached out and started this whole thing now where they're crowdfunding consultants. I had a bad run-in with one of those services as well. One of the people who saw how I crowdfunded sort of took it upon herself to start acting upon as a crowdfunding consultant when she has absolutely no business doing that. And that has come back to haunt me as well, because they saw that she worked on this campaign that I was a part of. And I said, believe me, this woman has no business doing this, and it's, you know what I mean? And it's just, that's on her. That has no reflection of me. And that is, thankfully that's been the only things that, I've had negative about crowdfunding. But did any crowdfunding consultants try to contact you?
No, well, maybe a couple of them did, but you know what? I had seen this guy named Ivan Asquith on a panel, like 2 years ago, and he ran the Reading Rainbow campaign, and he also ran the Veronica Mars Kickstarter campaign, and so he's done a lot of like these really big campaigns and done them really well. And I've sent him a LinkedIn message like, hey, I'm doing this. Is there any way, and I know this is a small potatoes thing compared to what you do, is there any way we could talk, or, I could pick your brain or whatever? And he got back to me, and I was able to talk with him on the phone. And I paid him a small fee. But so he was basically my consultant, but it wasn't a full-on, full-service anything. Just a few hours on the phone and looking over what I had already put together to see if there's a way to tweak it or make it a little stronger. And he was awesome. Like I said, he's doing these. He just did the Super Troopers 2 campaign on Kickstarter. He's really on top of that. And so he's like really good. And he gave me some great tips and some great strategies, and looked over what I had written and was like, oh, hey, change this, tweak this, make this better. And that was a great experience. And I think it was worth it for me to talk to him, since I was a newbie and I'd never done a campaign. Just some of his tips, and he had ideas for like how to roll out new rewards midway through your campaign, things like that, and how to do stretch goals, and he gave me lots of tips on that, and that was really good.
Yeah, I know there are some good crowdfunding consultants that and some of I've come across. I know like Bill Plimpton, who I've had on the show. He's a legendary animator, and he had a crowdfunding consultant. And there are a few really good crowdfunding consultants out there, but there are some, unfortunately, who offer that. Who it's just like those services, like the hey, I'll tweet out the whatever. They tend to use it. They tend to promote it like this. I've worked on X amount of campaigns and raised blank, blah, blah. The problem is if you go to ask those campaigns, they sort of either don't know who this person is, or that person was like, oh, they were part of our marketing team. You know what I mean? Like they were just hired to help like tweet out a message. And that I've seen that happen too, where somebody was a part of a marketing team, or even like a Twitter teams, to even further specify, and they would just be in charge of like, hey, if you could send it this way to somebody on Twitter, or if you could interact with people on Twitter. And then they try to market as they were a part of some, brain trust of actually putting together the perk structure and the everything else. It's just for anybody listening, that's some of the things that if you are thinking about running a crowdfunding campaign, these are some of the things that you will come across. It goes along with the territory.
Right. I mean, I think one of the best things to do is to study campaigns that have worked on Kickstarter. Look at what they did. Look how they phrased their pitch. Look at what their video was like. Look at how they rolled out their rewards, the timing for the stretch goals. You can learn a lot just by like studying other campaigns and see what worked, rather than investing in a questionable consultant. Now, if you have a great consultant who's been proven and has a great track record and all that, then it might be worth it to talk with them for a few hours and have them give you some ideas. But yeah, I would say, like you're saying, be cautious. There are lots of people they're opportunists looking to take people's money.
Yes, I concur. That's why I think it's invaluable to talk to people who are crowdfunding, like yourself, and just mention these things, because things are always changing, especially with the internet. Things are always evolving now, and now next year Indiegogo is going to start offering equity crowdfunding, which and also I don't know if you saw this, Robyn, but also now there are going to start being charges levied against Kickstarters that don't fulfill their goals.
Oh, wow.
That actually just started. There was a case, which by the way, if anyone is listening to this, well, of course there's people listening to this, but whoever's listening to this, I'll link to this, link to that in the show notes. It's starting to, people have complained enough. I don't know if you saw this, Robyn, but there was actually a guy, he was an author, and I think he wanted to raise like $7,000 for this book, and he ended up raising like $50,000 or $60,000, and he basically didn't know how to handle it, and he just sort of I want to say had temporary insanity, and he said, I have, people stop bothering me about when this book's going to be done. And then he made another video where he said, okay, the books are done, but because you guys have bugged me so much, I'm burning this batch, and for every message I'm going to burn the next batch. And he basically he just sort of, I don't know whatever happened with that. I remember that being talked about, and then I don't think there was ever any resolution to that. But things like that, I think now are going to start being looked at more carefully, especially if you post a video of you burning the perks.
Yeah, that is psycho.
So, so when you were filming, the room actors, where are they now? What are some of the memorable moments that you had, while filming this?
It was great. I really loved it. We got a lot of improv actors, decently well known in the LA community, and to be involved in this with the other room actors. And So it was funny. I mean, I just really enjoyed it, seeing it come to life, and then we laughed a lot. The most enjoyable moments, just the satisfaction of everything working out. Like, we made our days every day. We had 12-hour days, 6 12-hour days, because we're introducing every character in the room in their own environment. We had a lot of locations, so we were moving all around a lot, and we were able to get all that done. We had a really fun section in front of a cheesy green screen, which, as you know, is just sort of a call out to the cheesy green screen in the room. And that was super fun. It worked. And I mean, obviously we're still editing and trying to make the actual special effects with that work. But we had the green screen. We had this great actor named Craig Kakowski. He's a Second City alum. He was on the main stage in Chicago for a while when I actually lived in Chicago. And now he lives in LA, and he's been on Community, and he's been on Drunk History. He's one of the main people on Drunk History. He's hilarious. And he's our documentarian character, which is kind of like the Rob Reiner character, and this is Spinal Tap. So he's the narrative glue that like holds the whole story together. And to see him in action was really fun. He's really talented. He's a great improviser. And just to look at the dailies and see it come out kind of the way I originally intended was really awesome and rewarding. I mean, now that we're going to be editing, of course, and putting it all together, hopefully it'll come together in a coherent way and it'll pan out. But so far I'm really happy with what we shot and the way it's looking.
Well, you know, it's funny, Robyn, if it doesn't, come together like you want, market it as a serious drama, and then as everyone starts to laugh, like, oh, well, this was a comedy all along. It's a black comedy the whole time.
Exactly. It's all about rebranding. I'll just totally rebrand it. change what I'm doing. That's what you do, right?
Exactly. Sort of just go with the flow of things and say, yeah, this is exactly what I meant. It was an auteur choice, and it's what I meant to do. So if people love it, you say I meant to do that, and if they hate it, you blame it on somebody else.
Exactly. Exactly. Oh, my editor, I can't believe it. We'll have to record me saying this is intended to be a horror, and then another recording of me saying it's intended to be a drama, and then another saying we could just edit together, depending on how it turns out. We'll just piece together kind of, I don't know. This podcast will already be out. It'll be too late. You can't edit this together retrospectively, but anyway, yeah. So hopefully, fingers crossed. Trying to make it funny, and I know, Tom, I don't know if you've seen The Neighbors, but that was intended to be funny, and I don't know if that succeeded or not, but yeah. I mean, what you said before is this was Tommy's vision. The room was Tommy's vision. This is us coming together and saying we were in this room thing, but I don't know. It's probably not all we can do. Let's try something else, and let's have some fun with each other and with this, and see if we can make something funny and enjoyable and like good that actually is good. We'll see. I mean, the jury is out, but hopefully it'll be good.
Yeah, because I imagine a lot of the room actors, when they went to other auditions or anything, they were probably like, hey, wait a minute, you're in the room. And then I'm sure it probably started a line of questions, or probably they were, it probably, I don't know if it hurt them or helped them that they were in the room, which I hope this mockumentary might answer that question for me. Because I know, just looking up their IMDb, some people I know did this and did that, and some people just sort of, maybe like yourself, you went back to school, I believe, right, to get a screenwriting degree, or?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
So I know, that happened, and now, you're back and you're in the director's chair. So it's very interesting to see how, everything sort of happened after the room, and for everybody, and just sort of, tying this all together. And I think it's a great idea to put it in that mockumentary fashion, especially with a Rob Reiner type character sort of leading it, through. So is there a release date that you have in mind for the mockumentary?
Yeah, early 2016. I think it's going to be done. We just put together a little teaser that I sent over to Sheffield theaters in the UK because they wanted to show something before their screening of The Room. So we just put that together this week. It was rough since we threw it together in like 2 days, but we're going to do a little color correction on it, maybe a little sound work, and then I'm going to put it out just up there on my Facebook page for people to see the teaser. And then we hope to have our rough cut done the end of this month. And then, then we'll move into like doing the final work on it and the color correction and the fine tuning and everything. So early 2016. And the Kickstarter donors will get the online web viewing of the room. So they'll be the first people to see of this project, the mockumentary. They'll be the first people to see it. And then there'll be a Q&A with all the actors afterwards. So we think that's hopefully a good reward to give everyone just first dibs on seeing it. And then we like I said, we're going to see if we can maybe find a home for it, a platform that wants to stream it or a place that wants to show it, and try to get some money to shoot the rest of our episodes. The thing you mentioned about the struggling actor thing, that is a plot line I have for one of the actors, but that's actually in a subsequent episode. So trying to kind of go on auditions and being faced with like the thing of like, wait, you're in the room, right? So like you obviously suck. I mean, and just not letting anything go about the fact that the people are in the room. Or this episode is 22 minutes, and it's introducing everybody, and there's only so much you can throw in 22 minutes, which is why I really want to be able to shoot the rest of the 7 episodes, because there's some really fun stuff in it. I just think there's a lot of material to mine with this. So anyhow, that's the plan. That's a long-winded answer to your question. 2016.
And I think that is a very good perk, by the way, the Q&A with everybody. I really, even in crowdfunding, I think getting everyone involved, especially the actors, is key. And I think a lot of people who crowdfund sort of miss that because, if I said, hey, Robyn, do you want to go see, I don't know, some new movie that came out called, Terminator 17, you would probably ask me who's in it. And I would say, well, it's, Arnold's in it, obviously, blah, blah, blah. And that's what usually people ask, They usually ask either A, what's it about, or B, who's in it, or vice versa. And I think that is in crowdfunding, that's if you can get the actors as part of it, I think that really helps out a lot. Especially, obviously, this is just for film projects or TV projects, but having those extra people even tweet out, here and there really helps. I actually I have a funny story, which I don't want to bore you with right now, but maybe I'll tell you sometime, Robyn, about a friend of mine who actually crowdfunded and the actors actually refused to tweet out anything. Oh
my God.
Yeah, it wasn't funny then, but he ended up he ended up just crowdfunding anyway, but I want to keep it focused on the room on your mockumentary. And so I think that some place will pick this up. I think either Hulu or Netflix. If Hulu is willing to pick up The Neighbors, I think they should be willing to pick up The Room actors. Where are they now? Because I just don't think, as much as I liked The Room, I don't think that Neighbors has the same hit factor. It's very off the wall, and there's no story, and it's just even people can knock The Room, but at least I can follow something that's going on in The Room. Like Tommy's going through his whole thing, and at the end, he kills himself. And it just with Neighbors, it just there's nothing to cling on to, not even a single thing.
It's every girl comes in wearing a bikini. Like there's no rhyme or reason. Nothing makes sense. It's just, I ran out of the room screaming after 3 minutes. I was watching it. I'm like, oh my God, I can't do it. I'm trying to power through this episode, but I just can't watch it. So I turned it off. But yeah, so I don't know. We have some, we have Mindy Sterling is in our mockumentary. She played Frau Farbissina in the Austin Powers series. She's an awesome improviser. She is so funny. We've got this woman, Keiko Gina. She was the best friend in Gilmore Girls. We've got, let's see, who else? We've got Richard Tyson. He was in Kindergarten. He's the bad guy in Kindergarten Cop. He was in There's Something About Mary. He was in 3 O'Clock High. He was Buddy Revell in 3 O'Clock High. We have some actors with lots of credits that are really, really good and really funny. And Fred Stoller, I'm sure he's a character actor. He was in Seinfeld, and he's like...
Oh, yeah, I know Fred.
You know him?
Yeah, I actually, we're in talks to get him on the podcast.
Oh, yeah, he's hilarious. He's so nice.
I don't think some people understand his just complete deadpan delivery. I mean, he obviously he's a comedian and he's joking, but sometimes people like he would say things and people would just say, "What? You're what is he trying to say here?" It's like no, he's just it's just like that episode of Seinfeld where he was trying to ask out Elaine and he never remembered her from anything, and she was like, "I can't read this guy. What's he doing?"
That's exactly how he is in person too. So funny. It's great. So yeah, he was great and he's super funny. So we had some awesome people, and so I'm just kind of throwing that out there. Like, hopefully that'll help with the sale of this and having somebody who wants to show it somewhere. We just have some really great fun actors who brought a lot to the table.
Yeah, I'm sure somebody will pick this up. It's just it's a great project. It has sort of a built-in market too, because obviously the room, it does tie in with the room. I'm sure somebody at Hulu, Netflix, even Vimeo now is getting into its own original programming. Pretty much everybody now. I mean, even Walmart is getting into it now because they own Vudu, and now they're going to start programming their own original material. Amazon has their own original material. It's just great for people like us, Robyn, because now it's more options, more channels. So now I forget who it was who was on the show said the challenge now is not getting your thing made. It's getting your thing seen or heard. So basically, it's now instead of a war of getting it made, it's now a war of eyeballs and ears.
Right. Yep. That's true. Because everybody's clamoring for attention, and there's so much noise on the internet. So it's just breaking through that and getting people to watch your stuff.
Very true. Robyn, we've been talking for about 45 minutes roughly right now. So, in the end, it's sort of to tie this all together. Is there anything that you wanted to say, or maybe we can get a chance to talk about to sort of, put a period at the end of this conversation?
If you're a fan of The Room, I think you will like our mockumentary. And I would just say, if you don't mind, go to our Facebook page, which is The Room Actors Where Are They Now, and like it, and you will see updates that we're going to be posting there. I also have a website that is just about to launch. It's theroommockumentary.com. And follow us on Twitter. It's @TheRoomActors. And, we will be posting all kinds of information, more pictures from our shoot. The teaser that I just put together, we'll be putting that up, and just more information about where you can see this. And then tell your friends also. So the more eyeballs we have, obviously, the more chances we have to kind of get this seen and get the other episodes made.
Very true. And I will link to all that in the show notes, by the way, Robyn. So for anyone listening, you can always, I'm going to link to even Robyn's crowdfunding campaign. It's over now, but you can still link to it. Again, it'd be great to even just see how she created her campaign, see all the links, see the videos she's made. Because a lot of work did go into this campaign, and a lot of work went into this mockumentary. So Robyn, where can people find you out online? So
online, at Robyn O. Paris is my Twitter, and then Robyn Paris on Facebook, and then The Room Actors Where Are They Now for the actual project, and at The Room Actors for the project is Twitter, and at The Room Actors Instagram. But the other thing is, if anybody still wants, so we had some really cool rewards, like we had a mug that was like, "Where's my effing caffeine?" and had Dan J's. It was Dan, Jen, Jake, and Chris R. His caricature face on the mug. We just have a lot of really cool things. Or if you want to be one of the first people to see the screening, you can still donate through BackerKit, and I've got that set up on my campaign page on Kickstarter. So if you click on it, it'll take you to BackerKit, and you can still kind of donate some money. I'm throwing that out there because we will need some money for some post work, and so if you're interested in still contributing, there's a way to do that. Yeah. So thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, Robyn, it was my pleasure. And everyone, you can find me at davebullis.com. Twitter, it's at Dave_Bullis. Robyn, please keep me informed of what's going on. I will, anytime you want to come back on the show, please let me know. Hopefully, when by the time we show this, or you show the Room Actors Where Are They Now mockumentary, hopefully somebody will have picked it up, whether it be one of the many distribution platforms that I was talking about. But again, I wish you the best of luck, Robyn.
Thank you so much, Dave. I really appreciate. I'd love to come back anytime. Thank you so much for having me. It's been really fun.
Find Dave at davebullis.com. Please make sure to subscribe and share the podcast.